This tutorial will discuss strategies for determining final grades for students when you're using Power Teacher Gradebook. All right, welcome back to our physics classroom. So we want to talk a little bit about final grades. As we can see, if you have set up the grade calculations at the beginning of the semester, we looked at that in one of the earlier tutorials, then throughout the semester, the student's final grade will continually be updated according to the rules that you set at the beginning of the semester. It doesn't mean that these things can't change, but just so you know that your decisions about how the grade will be calculated are being used throughout the entire term. Now, it's really important when we're determining final grades, especially since Gradebook imports these grades directly into the report card. It's important that we assess whether we've got a really good picture of how our students are doing. If you're using a different program like a spreadsheet or paper or Markbook, then before those grades are inputted into the report card, we do have time to stop and think about the student grades and use our professional judgment to determine whether that grade best represents that student's learning in our class. And it's important to point out that since the grades get sucked right in here, that step is removed. So we want to be conscientious of that. If we right click on here, do this, we do have the option to manually override that calculation. And there are two numbers here. Okay, so I see a percent and I see a grade. So let's say I change this one to 75 for some reason. We can see when I change that, the final grade changed to 75%. If I change this second number, then the semester 2 calculated grade changes to 75%. So it's important, I think now that we're entering grades, it's important that we would adjust both of those. But we'd have to take a look and see which one actually gets put into the report card. Someone may already know the answer to that, and today it's not me. Okay, so I've done an override here to manually override that grade and change it to something that I think better represents student learning. So the types of things that we sometimes take into account that are outside the realm of the numbers in our gradebook might be things like observations that we've been taking or conversations that we have with students. So if we take a look here, I did add a few more observation items to the observation category. So I have some data here that I might want to take into account when I'm determining the student's grades. So one way that we can take a look at this data that we've collected doing student observations is we can actually print out a report that will give us this information in the reporting tutorial if you'd like to see what those are. So right now I'm looking at a score sheet printout, and I'm just going to look at a selected student. So whatever student is selected at this time, I've got one highlighted over here. And I don't want to look at all the categories, I just want to look at the observations. So actually, I could do this. Let's do it for all of the students so you can see what it looks like. So I've got the assignment name, and we're including all assignments. And I will run the report. Open it up. And so what we can see right now for each of our students, we can see their calculated grades here. But we can also see for each student what the observation was that was done for each of these four assessments that took place. So here's a chance for you to take a look at the data you collected about that student and see if there's any trends, see where the observations were done, and make a decision about whether or not those observations merit an adjustment to the final grade that has been calculated. So it is nice to be able to print out that type of report if you are collecting data in that way. Now, of course, you might be collecting this data on paper, right? You might be making notes when you're doing student observations, but this is definitely the stage where you want to take a look at that before you let that mark go into the report card. Definitely stop and reflect